せ燃やせ怒りを燃やせ走れ走れ明日走れ怒りの炎が天を突き破る廃墟の中から立ち上がれライガー
Hello ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? My name is Brandon Cela, and welcome to the Sellout Corner. I know, they gave me a show, they have no idea what they're doing with their programming, but whatever. So before you turn away, before you turn off whatever you're watching this on, because you'll realize how much of a schmuck I am, I just wanted to explain the concept of the show, and hell, maybe you get some interest. So the whole idea of the show was to just kind of have a creative outlet for me to show my ideas in comedy, in different skits or whatever, and talk about the stuff that I like, as well as others. We'll have different people on the show, kind of do some different segments, but what I'm trying to do here is to present different narratives, present different kind of fun segments and whatnot, and present storylines in a way that's inventive, or it's been done before but not necessarily in this medium. A lot of words, whatever, we'll just get to the brass tacks. So what's going on in the show today? I'm going to cover stuff that went on during the trip, cover Star Wars, definitely want to talk about that, and Wrestle Kingdom. So before all that, let's talk about the trip, or the break rather. I hope everyone had a great break. I had a fantastic break. We went to Charlotte, we watched the Hornets game. I'll put up the pictures somewhere around here. I'm terrible at knowing where I will put up pictures because I'm terrible at editing, even though I'm the production coordinator, wink. Other than that, you know, we drove around and stuff. We drove around the North Carolina area. It's freaking cold up there in those mountains. We went to like -degrees or whatever up in those mountains. Then we went to Gatlinburg. Now, all we heard in Gatlinburg was that's where all the Cubans go, because I don't know. They had a meeting in the 80s and they picked it as a spot. I don't know. So we went up there and we're like, okay, we haven't really seen much, you know, rednecky stuff. We're going around and exploring the different parts. Quick note, when the GPS tells you to go on a road that doesn't have road in the name, kind of start to get worried. We go off this road, it's called Cosby Road off of somewhere. I'll put the name because I don't want anyone going on this damn road. When I tell you that this was the most run-down road that I've ever seen, it's the most run-down road I've ever seen. There were houses that looked like no one were living there, but we're sure that someone was there. Vehicles, like cars that had no wheels, and we don't know where this ended up or that ended up. And I'll show the video of this because it's just insane. There's one of those like metal barns, you know what I'm talking about? It says no trespassing in graffiti on the front, but it misspelled trespassing. It has 2 S's on both sides. And we drive past that, and like the next house, a dog chases us out of the house and starts chasing the car. So so it was just crazy with that stuff.
One-lane road.
Half a mile, turn right on South Highway 32.
Yeah, so we can get off this damn road. Well, this one's nicer. It has like, you know, it doesn't have anything. It's the thing it's got going for it.
Does it have any scary houses?
Scary houses with rusty vehicles. Chasing dogs.
Oh yeah.
Chasing dogs!
That was... Oops.
Oh, okay, there's someone. Moonshine stills and meth labs. Alright, well, there you go. There's work. Oh, there's a nice house.
Look at this thing on the left.
Yep.
Look at this thing. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a couple of sharp turns there.
So we had a good time, with the Hornets game and this, and then Gatlinburg was, it was okay. We went to a TGI Fridays there, and that was pretty much it. So that's it from the break, and then I came up with this idea during the break. So that's the catch-up. I don't even know why I brought in this segment. I guess it was just for me to ramble for a bit. But we'll cut off the rambling with a great cutaway, so we'll be right back. Being at the beach at night is one of the more awesome images I can think of. It gives you perspective as you look out into the dark void of the night. One can see that in contrasting with the light and vibrant behavior of the city, the cold, bleak darkness of the ocean is a calming and interesting thing. However, it reminds us of what exactly we are fighting and what we must be reminded of, that when there is light, there is still darkness. And welcome back. Hey, I used the desk. I'm using props. I'm trying to be creative with the stuff. I hate myself. Going back to what I said earlier, we're going to talk about Star Wars. So I saw Episode 8, The Last Jedi, a lot like a lot of you, and I was entertained, don't get me wrong, but I had a lot of problems with just the setup with the film, the different things. By the way, spoilers, just throwing that out there. Why didn't Leia die in this movie? Why didn't it set up anything for the next movie, even though it's a bridge movie? It's in between the trilogies. It's been that way since the start of Star Wars, that the bridge movies kind of give you a glimpse into the next movie. And while it may not be the best, it still conveys a good idea or a good premise to lead into the next one. With Episode 2 even, Attack of the Clones, Anakin gets his hand chopped off. Anakin and Padme get married. The clones are introduced. There's a war going on. There's all these cool kind of things that are going on, and it's in the second movie, and that bleeds into the Clone Wars even, and then into Episode 3. Episode 5, Luke gets his hand chopped off. Vader is Luke's father. Leia and Han are in love. All these cool things Han gets taken by Boba and the bounty hunters, and they go to Jabba's palace. All these different storylines, and then what do we get in 8? Poe is now the leader, I guess. Finn is now in a love story with this new girl that we just met. Rey's a badass. That's cool. I really liked Rey in this movie, unlike the other movie. Luke dies. We get a full movie of Luke interacting with people, and then they just kill him off. So what I wanted to do with this segment, by the way, new segment, Sellout on Films, bam. It's a special where I will be rewriting Episode 8 and then bleeding into Episode 9. So here we go. So first off, we're going to cut out all of the Finn and the other girl. I even forget her name. We're cutting all that off. Why? Because it's a waste of time. I felt that the movie slowed down far too much with that stuff, and it didn't really build anyone's character. So we're cutting that off. Instead, with Finn, we're going to have him worry about Rey, because if we reach at the beginning of the movie, Finn shows that he has that beacon thing or whatever that keeps on bleeping that shows Rey's position. So we're going to highlight that. We're showing that Finn is concerned over Rey because in Episode 7, we hinted that they were going to get together, or there was going to be a story there, as opposed to an 8, where they just kind of forget about all that. It's about Rey and Luke. So, with that one, Finn gets worried. The fight is still going on. The whole Poe dynamic about him being leader, we still kind of get that, but Finn is more isolated in the sense that he needs Rey. He wants to know where she's at. he goes off and tries to find her. Meanwhile, though I like the whole Rey and Luke dynamic and the hints of the light and dark side don't matter. I love that stuff. So we keep that all in, but we change, we change up what happened with Rey and Kylo. So Rey still gets captured or whatever. Rey is brought to Snoke. That whole thing still happens, but in a way that kind of doesn't show Kylo as like this really evil guy. I didn't like the whole idea that Kylo was such a true villain when we spent the entire movie dealing with the premise of that good and evil are not really true concepts. And I kind of left episode 8 thinking, well, it's going to be Rey versus Kylo. With my movie, Rey actually joins Kylo and they join forces, and they play it off as, oh, we're forming, the new force together, but it's Kylo's envision of what the force is. It's still, dark side force kind of deal. Rey still thinks that she's fighting for good, and even Kylo sort of convinces her to start fighting the rebels. When they get down to that weird snow planet, I thought it was snow, but it turned out to be salt. And they highlighted that. They were like, oh, it's salt. And then they just never did anything with it. Again, weird filmmaking. Like I said, I was entertained by the film, but it was just so much annoying stuff here and there. We still have the whole Poe dynamic. I like that because I think it gives Poe a little edge. And it gives, it gets Poe over as like the captain of the rebels, or whatever, the general. I don't know military terms. But throughout all that, Poe has a love interest story with some rebel soldier. We show her, being badass and just fighting people, and she's even a great fighter as well, like, going through the X-Wings and all that stuff. Why? Because, I don't know, I want to give Poe, a little bit of depth, and we want to give something for him to care about in episode 9. I'll tag that on later. So, we get to the snow, salt planet or whatever. Still the scene with Luke and Kylo, but it's Rey and Kylo now against Luke. Everyone's so distraught. They see Rey for the first time on the other side of the Force. And they're wondering, is she going to turn? Is she going to turn? And it's actually Rey who attacks Luke. And then Luke still does his magic thing. He still looks like a badass. And then he dies. And then he fades away into the Force. The Empire fights back the rebels. The rebels flee away somehow. The cave scene was cool and interesting, and they used the dogs properly, but I don't know. I think with this one, more ingenuity comes into play, and I think Poe and Finn working together to kind of get out of the cave. Oh yeah, by the way, Leia does die. We want Leia to get killed off right as they showed in the trailer, because they hinted in the trailer that Kylo kills Leia. Yeah, I want Kylo to kill Leia. Why? Because it gives Kylo more of an edge and more depth, so we go into episode 9. Why didn't they do that? I don't know. Maybe they wanted Kylo to be like, I don't know, a lighter character, but then they counteracted that with Kylo being the only bad guy in the end. So it was just very weird, just a very weird narrative that they brought on, that these characters are gray, but then at the end of the movie they're not. They're good and evil, but then it was just very annoying. Again, I was entertained. I'm not one of those guys that's just gonna crap on all of the new Star Wars stuff. I liked Rey in this one, but it just got very annoying. So past all that, so they get out of it, and we're led with the idea of Rey and Kylo being together as a unit against the rebels, and then just as the movie's about to end, Finn either talks to Yoda, talks to Obi-Wan, or whoever, somehow gets his hands on a lightsaber, and instead of grabbing it, he tries the Force, and he gets the lightsaber. End the movie. So, bleeding into the next movie, we have Poe having a love interest. We have Finn, now a Force user. We have Kylo and Rey being a unit, and now it's about Finn getting Rey from Kylo, or Finn having to fight both of them. So, episode 9. I don't know how you fill in, I don't know how you fill in 2.5 hours. I've only been doing short films. I know this crap. But basically the idea is that Poe is confronted with a lot of situations where he has to be emotionless and put him in predicaments where the love interest, she's, hurt or whatever, and then something happens and Poe has to make a decision. So you put him in all those situations. Then Finn is faced with a dilemma of thinking, should I save Rey? Should I fight both of them? And I want there to be a scene where like all of the Jedi ghosts kind of come to Finn and say, look, and then they bring in their different perspectives. Yoda says to kind of, bring everyone together. Anakin says, no, you gotta fight both of them. Obi-Wan says, fight Kylo, try and save Rey, all this stuff. So at the end of it, Finn says, screw it, I'm gonna go on my own and just confront them and see what happens. So then somehow, and then there's, I don't want there to be like a third Death Star or, well, a fourth, now that you think about it. But the rebels attack the Empire, or the Empire attacks the rebels twice, like in every current Star Wars movie. I don't know how to set up like big stuff, but you get what I'm saying. Like there's, they fight or whatever, and then, they have conflict. That's how it goes. But the main focus is the three of them, Rey, Kylo, and Finn. Three of them meet, and initially, it's 2-on-1. Finn somehow manages to, squeeze out of different predicaments, but he's weak. He's only been a Force user for a very, very little time. So it shows that, he gets slashed or whatever. Rey, seeing this and seeing, someone that she loves or someone that, she cares about hurting, then attacks Kylo. And now it's a 2-on-1 reversed. And they keep on fighting. At some point, they reach the conclusion that if they keep on fighting, the three of them are just going to kill each other, and then left with no true Force users. At least people who understand that the Force is more than just good and evil. That we've established that in 8. So we're building on themes. You see, that's what you do with sequels and, threequels, whatever. You build on it, as opposed to 8 that just kind of happened. So we get that, okay, what do? They meet, all slashed up, and, maybe we poke a little fun that they're, being civil after they just tried to kill each other. They meet, and they keep on going back and forth of what's good and what's not, and they decide that they will form a united front, that they will try and mend all the fences that, all the wars and everything that were caused from the Force, and that the three of them will lead kind of a united light and dark side unit to spread peace all over the galaxy while still having, confrontations with each other or whatever. I don't know. I like the concept of it because it writes off Rey, because Daisy really doesn't want to do any more Star Wars films reportedly after the next movie, and it gives us kind of a nice idea to lead off into the other trilogy that Rian Johnson's going to be doing, with the idea being that it would be Kylo and Poe working together, but then also fighting with each other over, who is the true Force user, and them fighting or recruiting other Force users in the future, because as they hinted at in 8, there was the new generation of Force users that, the kid with the ring or whatever. So, I don't know. The reason I did this is because I just felt robbed of future narrative or future plot lines for episode 9, as well as just future movies in general. There have been a bunch of film reviewers like Red Letter Media. They did a video on this, and they're right in the sense that why are we buying more Star Wars movies? Why are we watching more of them? Because of just the name. Because in Episode 7, the interest was how will the old mesh with the new, and we saw that, and it was okay. Could have been better, definitely, but it wasn't that bad. And with 8, it was entertaining, but they didn't build off of anything, nor did they set anything up. And so that's the problem I had with it. So, you know, I don't know, maybe Abrams is watching this and, you know, he's rewriting his Probably not, but you hope. We'll be right back. So as I mentioned earlier in the show, I would like to talk about things I'd like to talk about. That didn't make sense. You get what I'm saying. You know, nothing with a true message or anything, nothing like politically motivated, but just things that I like to talk about. For example, films and, you know, different television shows. I'll be talking about the NBA next week, and one of those things is wrestling. As you see, I'm wearing my CM Punk shirt. I like to talk about wrestling because, you know, there are some cool things in it, some cool narratives, you know, just great matches in general. And one of the things early on, you know, during the break that happened was Wrestle Kingdom 12. New Japan Pro Wrestling, if you guys aren't familiar, is a promotion that works in Japan, of all places. And they run an annual show in the Tokyo Dome, and their main show is called Wrestle Kingdom. That's where the majority of their storylines culminate and where future ones can start. So the headline matches were for the IWGP Heavyweight Champion Kazuchika Okada versus Tetsuya Naito. We had Alpha vs Omega IWGP US Championship on the line. Kenny Omega defending against Chris Jericho. Overall, I liked the show in general. I thought that the Young Bucks match, Young Bucks versus Roppongi 3K, was a great match. It was a fun junior match, a bit too much like a Young Bucks match in the sense that they did too many fun little bits when they locked, you know, when Matt had, I think it was Sho in his sharpshooter, and then Yo had Nick Jackson in his sharpshooter, and they were slapping each other. That's a bit goofy and phony. You know, I don't really like that stuff, but it was a good, fun match. It told a good story that Matt was weakened by his back, but Roppongi 3K, while they were excited to be in this big match, they're young guys, they were inexperienced, and then they ultimately fell to the Young Bucks. I didn't see the IWGP Tag Team match. I still have to see it. I haven't heard anything about it, so we're just going to move on. The Never Openweight 6-man tag is like a Never Openweight 6-man tag. Toru Yano punching everyone in the dick. That was fun. Zack Sabre Jr. Being just the man that he is and just locking people in great submissions. That was fun. But, I felt kind of just with it. Because the next night, the New Year's Dash, Bad Luck Fale and the Guerrillas of Destiny won the titles back. So it was weird. Then we had the special singles match. This is the singles match where New Japan just says, we need another singles match, and let's just throw in Cody into it. Apparently, it's the thing every year that now they're going to have Ring of Honor guys compete in the New Japan matches. It kind of feels off from the overall tone because these guys are all New Japan guys, but the Kota Ibushi match just feels out of place, especially with all of the stuff that Cody was doing with his wife Brandy. It was a lot of, you know, heel-oriented bits, like stuff that you'd see in the 80s. Still a fun match, and it still, you know, told the story of Cody just being just a jackass with all the stuff that he does. Kota Ibushi getting the win, and then ultimately hinting at, something big happening in 2018. And everyone says Golden Lovers with Kenny Omega, that'll be a thing. I don't see it. Maybe Kota Ibushi gets Intercontinental title run. I don't know. So we move on to the think it was the Never Openweight Championship match, Minoru Suzuki versus Hiroki Godo. I love this match. It was two hard-hitting mother fighting each other, and it's great. Suzuki is just the man, and he is just the best. Bleeping that out for the cursing, just letting the editor know, and we'll be good to go. Suzuki just being a man with all the strikes that he did, all of the realistic kind of just grappling he would do, and Hiroki Godo telling a great story of that he's a striker that is on par with the top card of New Japan, but he's just not there yet. See, the whole idea of his character is that he comes up short in these big matches, which conveys the sense of that he is an underdog in these kind of high-stakes matches, especially when he's going up against a Minoru Suzuki or even a Kenny Omega, like a faction leader, where there's always the chance that, you know, Taichi, even though he's not a threat, but you get what I'm saying, of Suzuki-gun members and Bullet Club members interfering in the matches, it gives off the sense that Hiroki Godo is fighting for the people and he is an underdog, even though he's a big dude. And it showed in this match. They were just whacking each other. The best spot, I think one of the best spots of the night, was Suzuki just slapping the hell out of Godo just for 30 straight seconds. It was the best stuff. And then Godo won. I think he should have lost, so that gives him something to do, and it gives his character a bit more depth, because it was a hair versus hair match. I thought it was hair versus title, but I guess Suzuki gave up his hair too. I don't get that. I don't get that in the sense of booking, that if the whole point of the hair versus hair was that Goto was putting up something of worth, as Suzuki is putting up his Never Openweight title, it should be hair versus title, as opposed to hair versus hair with the title involved. It felt out of place, but it was really cool seeing Minoru Suzuki without, you know, shaved bald in the next event, and it's great to see Suzuki's going to be fighting Tanahashi at the next event, so that'll be fun. I can't get enough of Minoru Suzuki because he is just a crazed man, and I love him. So then after that, we had the IWGP Junior Heavyweight 4-way match. We had Marty Scurll defending against Hiromu Takahashi, Kamaitachi. God, I'm just slipping up on my words. Kamaitachi versus Kushida versus Will Ospreay. What a fun match. I loved it because it's a junior match. You're going to get the high-intense stuff while still delivering on hard hits and grappling. I like that aspect. I like that the dynamics that Hiromu is this crazed man, Kushida is more reserved, but then he'll punch someone if, you know, he's not getting his way, and then Will Ospreay is just trying to be the best, and then meanwhile Marty Scurll is just being a true heel. I like that the four of them clashed, and it didn't really, this match, I don't think it really, you know, hurt anyone in a sense, because some matches, someone goes over and then someone loses their credibility. I don't think anyone really lost. If you watch this match, everyone is just doing this insane stuff. Will Ospreay jumping off the top, Kushida just having great grappling and just having great moves here and there. Hiromu explosive with all of his moves. They did the sunset flip spot, which I love. And then Marty Scurll just, you know, being like, he didn't really have necessarily his British grappling style in this match. It was more of like an Americanized, you know, spot-oriented things, which meshed well because the three other styles clashed, so to speak. And in the end, Will Ospreay won, so now he is a two-time IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, and we'll see where it goes from there. I think he'll have a great run. I think, you know, he can have great matches with the CMLL guys because of his experience with Ring of Honor. He's been working with them. I think that he's a great face for the rest of the division. I just don't know what other matches they're going to come up with out of these four guys, because these four are the big guys in the junior division. Now that Ricochet is off to possibly WWE, I don't know who else will come up, because Sho and Yo are currently dealing with the IWGP Junior tag scene. And in the sense, now that I think about it, the juniors are kind of in a tough spot. the foreigners like Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin, Ricochet, Matt Sydal, they're all gone. And the singles junior guys have already had matches with each other, except for, I guess, Kushida and Skrull. But little things like that, I don't know what else they have left in the tank. And that's a theme for the entire show. Looking back on it, they kind of exhausted a lot of their storylines in the end. And I don't know where they go from here. You say, well, bring in extra guys like Chris Jericho, but then that takes away from the, founded guys or from the true stars in New Japan. Okada, Tanahashi, Naito, even Kenny Omega, even though he's a foreigner, he's still a New Japan guy. So I think they've exhausted a lot of their storylines and a lot of their big matches in the past few years, so I don't know what they're going to do, especially with the junior division, because there isn't anyone left. And with the junior tag division, it's Roppongi 3K and the Young Bucks. There's no one else. Red Dragon went to NXT. Matt Sydal and Ricochet, gone. Roppongi Vice, Beretta's a heavyweight, and Romero is managing Roppongi 3K. As far as heel tag teams, there's no one else. There's the Suzuki-gun tandem. I guess you could say, as far as faces, that Taguchi can get like an ACH or someone to tag with him, but then we need to see ACH in more tours. He needs to be brought into the fold, and he needs to be in more Taguchi Japan matches for me to accept that, okay, ACH is now with New Japan, so that's a possibility. I think that they're in a rut right now, stuck with the Young Bucks, which is not a bad place. The Young Bucks are the best tag team in the world. But they're stuck with Young Bucks, Roppongi 3K, and then a bunch of challengers who, from my assessment, can't realistically beat the Young Bucks for the title. They'll just have to wait until Roppongi 3K eventually gets the rematch and win the title. So I don't think they'll win it back now, but they may very well do a thing where they trade tag title wins, but I don't see that happening. Next match is the IWGP Intercontinental title match. Hiroshi defending against the newly arrived Jay White under his new Switchblade gimmick. I was very disappointed in this match. It did not live up to the hype that I was told. I was told by fans that Jay White is legit. Jay White is the next whatever. He's going to be the next big star. Working with Tanahashi, and while Tanahashi is older, and while Jay White, this is his first match back on a big stage in Wrestle Kingdom in a big match for the Intercontinental title, everyone came up short. It just felt like a regular old match. It didn't feel like the Naito Tanahashi match that we had last year. It didn't feel like Nakamura versus Styles, and maybe to impart the level of hype that the IC title has had in the past. But then you've had weird matchups like Naito and Elgin that really went well. Tanahashi defending against Zack Sabre Jr., that could have ended disastrously, but, ZSJ just being the man that he is and just being the intense grappler, it just worked out. With this match, it didn't really mesh with me. So then we move on to the IWGP US title match, Kenny Omega defending against Chris Jericho. What a fun match. What a great story. What a great bunch of spots. Everyone's saying that this is the match of the night. This is 5 stars. I wouldn't go that far. There was a bit too much chicanery for me. A bit too much, excessive stuff. There's definitely a gap between work rate in this match. If you can't tell that Chris Jericho is 40 plus with this match, I don't know what you see, because Jericho was a bit out of shape. He was a bit slow. Now he's working with Kenny Omega, who is an Iron Man, but still, with all the hype that was surrounded it, maybe all the chicanery was to hide Jericho. Not to say that Jericho is not a good worker. He's a good worker. He played the spots beautifully. Heel, no PG Jericho is great. He's flicking off everyone, and he's calling Kenny Omega a son of a bitch and all this stuff. It's fun. I don't know what to do with Kenny Omega. He's a face now, I guess, because Jericho's a true heel. I don't know what they do with Omega going forward. I thought he was a heel, or at least he was booked like a heel, facing face opponents. But I don't know what's going to happen there. I don't know what's going to happen with Bullet Club in general, because it feels like there's a divide from the elite of Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, and then everyone else being heels. And for me, that's lazy, that's a bit too marky, if I can say, because that kind of takes away from the whole idea of Bullet Club. They're supposed to be this villainous foreign stable in New Japan when they're doing shtick and they're doing fun stuff. They're supposed to be serious. I get that they can be fun, but Gallows and Anderson had fun, and they would talk about marks and about drinking Bud Light Lime and doing all this crap, but they were still big dudes fighting everyone and everything. So, I don't know. Then the main event, Kazuchika Okada defending against Tetsuya Naito, the match that has been hyped since their debut. You know, the highlight packages showing Naito and Okada fighting as young lions, then them clashing as their previous incarnations, with Okada just coming off the Rainmaker shock and Naito still the Stardust Genius, and then Naito's evolution from the Stardust Genius to the fall to then the rise as the Ingobernable. There we go, Spanish kicking in. And Okada's evolution as the unstoppable Rainmaker character that he is. I think this was match of the night. People say that, oh, it's not the best Tokyo Dome main event of the past few years. Well, I mean, you have to follow up Okada Tanahashi and Okada Omega and all these other great matches. I understand that, but it's still, I think it was still the best match of the night. I think that everyone was on their game, and I think that in the end, the right man won. While Naito winning at the Tokyo Dome in the main event would have been so great, I think they're going to get more out of this angle, and I think the next Tokyo Dome match, because these guys are going to meet in the Tokyo Dome again. I think in 2 years they'll meet in the Tokyo Dome again for the heavyweight title, and I think Naito winning there will truly cement him as a star, because up until this point he's on a long losing streak at the Tokyo Dome, except for his match with Hiroshi Tanahashi, and up until this point Okada has been built as this unstoppable monster, so I think it's going to take a little bit more. Now, saying all that, I don't know who the hell will beat Okada at the end of this. There's no one else, which is a problem, because it could just very well be Okada and that's it, and that's not entertaining. The whole point, the thing that brought me into New Japan was that there wasn't a Brock Lesnar, there wasn't an Undertaker in his prime. That was just this unstoppable force that no one could take down and no one ever took down. With Okada's reign, it's starting to feel like that there's going to be no one to stop this guy. And that just gets annoying for me. So, that is my take on Wrestle Kingdom. We'll be right back. And that's it for the show. Thank you guys for watching. If you're not watching on TV, like, subscribe, do the whole shtick. If you're watching on TV, just remember the time that this is on. And remember this, folks. Seinfeld Season 1 was really rough. So, give your boy a chance. All right? Thank you for watching.